host who's not?
Um,
Is that Bill? Is that Bill? You no
that,
no sound, no.
that's probably Bill. Yeah.
Bill, great. Bill will join us in a moment, and you almost
Hi
certainly
guys,
know.
I have a couple of IT problems. I'll be with you in 2 minutes. Chat away, chat away.
Okay. Before we move on, I'll ask Vicky to introduce yourself because you're now on the steering group.
Hello. Yes, I'm a new member of the steering group. Hi. I'm chair of Climate Friendly Bradford-on-Avon. So Matthew, I've noticed you're in Bradford-on-Avon. So
yeah.
So
I'm also,
new. Sorry, what's that?
I work with Amy. I've been working with Amy.
Yes, great. Okay, put your face.
Part of the energy group.
Name to a face. Yeah. So I'm new to Wiltshire Climate Alliance, but based in Bradford-on-Avon.
But Vicky does chair. Did you say that you chair? Well,
I
it's
did.
on your
Chair,
it's on your
I'm
name
chair
description.
of Climate Friendly.
I've then got Matthew, Neil, and William in that order. Matthew, do you want to say something more?
Matthew Roke, I live in Bradford-on-Avon, also part of Climate Friendly Bradford-on-Avon. I've been working with Amy on things related to energy. That's me.
Lovely. And then Neil Hopkins, Swindon.
Yeah,
it says here.
I'm Neil Hopkins. I'm chair of the Builder Greener Swindon Committee in Swindon Borough Council. So I'm a Swindon Borough Councillor. I'm also a South Swindon Parish Councillor. I'm chair of South Swindon Parish Council. So I've got a couple of hats.
Brilliant. Thanks for being here. And next on my list is someone called iPad 2.
Oh, that's me, Sue Connolly.
Oh, hello, Sue. I didn't recognise you. I'll rename you.
I can't work out how to put my name on, I'm afraid.
Don't worry, I'll do it.
Where are you from, Sue?
From Swindon. From Swindon
great.
Old Town, yes.
Good to see more Swindon people here. And let me see. Forgive me if I lose track slightly. The list is jumping around in front of me. William Lambert Cricklade. Yes.
Hello, I'm a newbie this evening. Just trying really to understand what's going on and see if there's somewhere I can put my shoulder behind, having just recently left full-time employment. I'm living Cricklade, as you can see, so I'm close to the Swindon ones, particularly interested in renewable energy, heat pumps and retrofit.
Fantastic, that's good news. Sue, your name now, Adam Walton.
Hi everyone, yeah, Adam Walton from Corsham, part of Corsham Climate Action, former steering group member, but still with you all in spirit, not often in body.
Very much so. Thanks, Adam. Adrian, who you're billed as Adrian Smale Salisbury, doing our bit. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's just the interested in energy transition. Well, probably all of it really, but retrofit definitely. And for the last 3 years, I've done a YouTube channel, so covering my journey. But
it would be great to see a link to your YouTube channel in the chat then, Adrian, if you like. And anyone else who wants to put their group's details or their business details or anything else in the chat, we will be later asking you to, if you're willing to do some jobs, and it sounds as if some of you are raring to do that, to put names and one or two other things in the chat in the right context. Where am I now? Alan MD Nada, my list says.
Yes, hello, hi there. Can you hear me? Yeah, I joined you a bit late, so I didn't hear what the question was, but here I am answering. What was it you wanted to know?
It's just an introductions round.
Oh yeah,
really, Alan, because there are more than usual new faces here.
So, that's good. That's good.
Here we go, yeah. and welcome.
Yes, well, I'm just Alan Marianne Davis. I'm the chair of NADA Community Energy, which is in Southwest Wiltshire, and we've been going since 2015. we're mainly sort of based around Tisbury and neighbouring villages. Our core business is rooftop solar panels, and we also have an electric car club, which has been in abeyance for a year while we get sorted out with insurance, which has been a huge issue for car clubs in general and electric car clubs in particular. What else we do? We do some retrofit work as well. We have a program called Warmer at Home Tisbury, which is basically doing thermal surveys of people's homes and suggesting ways they can improve their home heat efficiency, and stretching from simple DIY fixes to more complex solutions. So, what else we do? Yes, those are the main initiatives that we're up to.
Thanks, Alan. That's really central to some of the things we've been doing quite strongly this year, and some of us might have met you then at a Wessex Community Energy or Southwest Community Energy Networking.
Indeed.
Thanks. Just a minute, I've lost my list, which has increased to 29. This is great. So there is a danger of me missing people out, but I'll press on. Kerry Blackburn, you're muted and your picture isn't there. If you did want to speak, great, and if not, you could always put something into the chat.
Hi, Kerry Blackburn, a friend of Christian's, lived just outside Salisbury, ex-teacher, very keen to get involved with the small COP.
Fantastic. That's going to be a central topic tonight. I've figured out what's happening to my list. I click on participants, the list jumps up, and all the people who are unmuted jump to the top, and all the ones who mute jump down to the second half, kind of below the line. So again, forgive me if I get things wrong. Catherine Reed Devises, and then Charmy, Claire and Donald. Okay.
Yeah, hi, I'm from Round Devices, part of Sustainable Devices and Cycle Friendly. Most of my interests lie with active travel, mainly cycling, but I'm interested in transport and renewable energy as well.
Lovely, thanks, Catherine. And we know you work hard. I have then Charmian, Claire from Salisbury. So Charmian, do you want to say anything? And unmute and introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm in Pusey, and we have a Community Land Trust, which did do a feasibility study for ground source for the schools, and that was successful. But the school hasn't progressed it further at the moment. It's busy with other things. I have a background of CPRE. Thank you.
Oh yes, I can't see you. Presumably your camera.
I don't know quite how.
Somewhere down the bottom left might be a picture of a camera or video.
Oh yes, video.
That's okay. Thanks. Is that Charmian Spickenell?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, thanks. Hello, Charmian, another CPRE member here.
Yes.
Wonderful to see you here. Claire Salisbury.
You're muted, Claire.
If you like.
Sorry, I'm Claire from Salisbury, Claire Druitt from Salisbury. I'm from a wildlife conservation volunteer type of background, and I'm interested in all things land and farming these days, and rising from getting involved with the land use group. And we'll plug our meeting next Monday, please, to everybody. Please look at our meeting when we have a talk from Andy Wallace of the Environment Agency about our River Park project here in Salisbury and all things flooding and environmental work. So I'm mainly interested in nature recovery and farming and farming subsidies and all that sort of thing. That's me.
Fantastic. All right, Claire, Donald Kent from Gastard, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello. Excuse me. I'm the eco champion for Gastard Eco Church, I did some work for to support Lime Down Solar Farm against the avalanche of opposition. We declared a climate and nature emergency, which has focused minds. I'm a member of Caution Climate Action and a member of Caution Active Travel Group. And we have a Caution LC whip being produced this year.
Thank you, Donald. Brilliant. I've got a Jenny, and then it'll be Jimmy and Jill and Kate from Pusey.
Hi,
Jenny.
sorry, my camera's playing up, but I'm Jenny Crow from Devices, member of Sustainable Devices, a teacher, so I don't have a huge amount of time, but would like to help out where I can.
Thank you, Jenny. You're very welcome. Jimmy and Jill.
Hello, everyone. It's Jimmy and Jill from Salisbury. We're mainly interested in active travel, plus retrofitting and renewable energy. Jimmy's a bikeability instructor.
Okay. Yeah, nobody needs to go on at great length. That's fine. Thank you. Kate from Pusey.
Hi, everybody. Kate from Pusey. Particular interest in homes and generative energy. Been doing lots of heat surveys around the Vale of Pusey and then doing lots of wildlife restoration as well.
Thank you. It brings us to Keith Breakout. Malmesbury Wiltshire Climate Alliance explains itself. Keith,
hello,
hi.
everyone. Very impressive to see a load of people turning out for this meeting. I haven't attended for a few months, took a bit of a break through the summer months. I hope it's not a bit like the number of people you see at a gym class in January, and then when you go in February, there's only 4 left. Well, my background as an engineer, been in recycling businesses all my life. In my time with Wiltshire Climate Alliance, I did quite a big project on looking at what businesses are doing around Wiltshire to see where we're at, because they're such a major part of the carbon footprint for the county. So therefore, I'm rejoining some work for the WCA now to get specifically involved in this idea of a COP, which might be business focused for one of its days. Locally this year, I'm going to try and get Malmesbury, which is a sizable town and very well known, but it actually seems to be ticking over at a very slow rate in terms of climate action. There's a group called MCAN, Malmesbury Climate Action, which seems to be doing not a lot. So we're getting some local groups together to try and revitalise that in the next few months and drive that up a bit. And the only other thing is Ros Savage, our MP, I think that applies to quite a lot of people on here in the South Cotswolds area. She's taking the climate and nature bill to the Houses of Parliament on the 24th of January. And I'm involved in a group she's put together, environmental roundtable, to come up with things like difficult questions she might get asked by the opposition, etc., etc. So I'm quite enthusiastic about that. Feels like you've got a finger on someone who's sat in our government. Right, I'll shut up now.
Because of all that, it was worth your time. But shall we? I'll be cruel and shorten the introductions from now on, because I do want everyone to have a chance. Is it Les Lipscomb? And then I'll ask Margaret Wilmot and Margaret Green. If you want to pass, that's always fine. Les, you're muted and your video's off. So I'm going to count to 3 and then pass on to Margaret Green.
Hello there. What's that? 3, 2, 1? Oh, we've got to 1.
That's all right. Carry on.
Yeah, climate and nature bill is the big thing that we must get through, and we must get through quickly. So if you haven't already emailed your MP, whoever your MP is, mine's had about 4 emails on the subject from me, and he's promised he's going. He's a Lib Dem, and so Ros is one of his mates. and he's supporting her, but he understands how important it is that we should have a planet to live on and food to eat. And without climate and nature, we will have neither of them. Okay, I'll back down now.
Thanks, Margaret. And I can see Bill is chafing at the bit. Is there anything you need to say now? But I know you're raring to go on the main item on the agenda. So, Bill, are you okay to let us see this through?
You guys carry on.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to Bill's presentation. So I've lost track. Margaret Wilmot, and then it'll be Matthew, or did you already speak? Sorry, Matthew and Mel from Salisbury.
Yes.
So,
well, hello. Well, can I chip in since, Margaret Wilmot from Salisbury. My main interest has been transport, and it might be appropriate to mention I've been involved very recently with the Transport Action Network, producing a report called Connecting South West England in place of A303, A358 widening. So it's about what we do potentially to improve rail, buses, active travel in place of the A303 Stonehenge scheme. So it's not published yet, so this is kind of pre-publication announcement, but when it is, I'd very much like the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about it. So just give you a heads up there.
Thanks, Margaret. Then Matthew, as I say, I'm slightly losing count.
Yeah, no, I've already introduced myself.
That's
I think,
right.
so.
Sorry. Thanks, Matthew. We got Mel Lawrence.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks. Yeah, I'm a parish councillor in a village near Salisbury, Alderbury, environmental lead, and we're about to start another tree planting scheme on some amenity land. This is the sort of thing I do. Also interested in the same things as Claire in Salisbury, really, land use and farming. So, and all things environmental, really.
Lovely to see you again, Mel. Thanks. Neil Hopkin, are you Swindon? And then it'll be Rebecca and Richard.
Yeah, I've already explained how I'm.
Sorry, Neil.
Yeah, no worries.
My list is jumping around,
Yeah.
depending whether you mute or unmute. So Rebecca Bellamy, I don't think I've asked you if you'd like to speak. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, I'm part of the Swindon Climate Action Network, and I'm a Quaker, and my background is more helping people grapple with conflict rather than wildlife, but I care about the world. That's why I'm here.
That's brilliant. Then Richard.
Yeah, hi. Can I just say it's really inspiring to hear about what everyone's doing. It's amazing. Well done, everyone. You need to give yourselves a big pat on the back. It's great to see all that's going on. Yeah, part of what I do is I work for Alan at NADA Community Energy, looking after the solar PV assets. I also do some retrofit advising, so I'm interested in that too. And with another hat on, I do protest liaison, talking to the cops on behalf of Extinction Rebellion. So lots swirling around in my head, but hopefully I can be reasonably effective at some of them, if not all of them. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Richard. Brilliant. Thank you. Shirley, please. Shirley McCarthy.
Well, from Melksham's in the heading, but in fact, I live in Broughton, Gifford, and surviving, I think, in the maelstrom that is Melksham is probably our greatest achievement. So in incarnation 349, I'm now the chair of what is now Melksham Environment Group, having been chair of a Melksham Energy Group and on the environment rep on the steering group for the neighbourhood plan. But the main role I see myself as having is trying to make all the active groups mesh together in Melksham, because we have a very keen Melksham Without Parish Council and a Melksham Town Council that dissolved its environment group. So we have a lot of juggling to do, but there are some exciting prospects like possibility of micro hydropower in the Avon, and I'd love to talk to Adam about that because it's never gone away. Yes, and our neighbourhood plan has pioneered use of only brownfield sites for the non-strategic housing allocation. And that was against some opposition. So it's quite exciting.
Thanks, Shirley. Okay, and now I missed out Rosemary Buck, and then we have, is it Tim from Corsham and William Lambert from Cricklade, and I can't see anyone else, but if anyone does want to complain that I haven't invited them to introduce themselves, you'll do so in a moment. So that's Rosemary Buck, Tim from Corsham, and then William Lambert from Cricklade. Want to speak? Rosemary, you're muted and your video's off. Does that mean you want to give it to Miss? And just listen in?
Rosie's one of our gang, not a community.
Right. Okay, Rosie. Silent but deadly, Rosemary Buck. I think I used the wrong phrase. You put me off, Richard, because you stole my line, because I'm completely gobsmacked by the number of different things people are doing, and I know for a fact that there are 3 times this many of us doing all these sorts of things who aren't here today. So it really does make me feel less lonely as a member of the steering group. So that's Tim from Corsham. You're welcome to introduce yourself, and then William.
Yeah, I'm Tim from Corsham. There you go. I
Hey.
guess probably my main interests are the political side of things and the housing stuff. Did a little bit of work with Jackie on the Green Hope and Homes last year. And in a previous life, I did sustainability reporting in the NHS.
Thanks, Tim. And William?
I think I've been already. Carry
Thanks, William. You're right. Yes. Well,
There's Gail, Andrew.
Gail, jumping up to them. Please, Gail, if you'd like to.
Hi. Hi, yeah, I'm
Thank
Gail.
you. You're rescuing me.
I'm Gail from Chippenham, and I belong to Zero Chippenham, and I'm sort of at the older end of the spectrum, but now I've actually got more time for various reasons. I hope to get more involved. Very interested in environmental things generally. Retrofit, I've had a survey done on my property with a view to possibly having an air source heat pump, and also very interested in transport issues. And I always keep an eye on the planning lists for the council and listen in on council meetings and put my 4 pennyworth in if I can.
Thanks. We need people like you, Rosemary, and you're no older than a lot of us, younger than some. So that's as much as I've been able to see of the list. As I say, the meeting's been recorded. If people want to review that, do we normally pop it onto YouTube, Bill or Julian?
Yes, on the WCA website, yeah, which is on which points to our YouTube channel, yeah.
Okay, well, without more ado, then, Bill has been working hard to prepare a presentation on our scheme for a Wiltshire COP, which probably won't be called that. And so, Bill, do you want to get into your presentation and explain
yeah, I can do that.
What that means? And I'm really particularly pleased to see so many people here from Swindon, because when we say Wiltshire, we mean the county of Wiltshire, the Wiltshire Climate Alliance territory, which includes Swindon, and it would be great to have Swindon participation in this forthcoming event. I think, Bill, you're going to present, and then we'd like to break into breakouts and have some chats and report backs before we move on to the next agenda item. So I'm just going to put that agenda in the chat, and meanwhile you'll be getting ready.
I'm ready
to do what you're doing. Thanks.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'll join the queue and I'll say I'm Bill Jarvis. I was one of the founder members of WCA, and it's wonderful to see so many people still turning up to these meetings and doing stuff all over the county. Brilliant. And I'm just interested in everything, I'm sorry to say. At the moment, there are 3 or 4 projects going on that in my head and within WCA. So one of them I'm going to talk about now, which is the Wiltshire COP, which, as Andrew said, I think we're going to rename at some point. But we've been working with the council for some time on how we can do this. In fact, reminded last week that we started talking to them in 2021 about this, and they kicked us out basically. And they are now much more interested in doing it. They see the benefits of it, and I think we're going to get there this time with a joint effort between them and us, and it hopefully will include Swindon as well. Excuse my voice. I've got a horrible cold at the moment, so don't worry about me. I'm all right. It's just my voice is horrible. I think I will start now. If Julian can do it, can you put the PowerPoint up, Julian, and we can move through it? Thank you. Okay, so what is Wiltshire and Swindon COP? It's as I said there, Climate and Nature Summit, and how can we give opportunities and benefits for business and communities from the climate crisis when they are trying to address that? I think that's the important thing, that we're trying to draw businesses and communities in to do positive things, which will benefit them as well as the climate. That's the sort of target for the whole thing. And the idea now is to have a 2-day event in the middle of the year, 20th and 21st of June, on a Friday and a Saturday. And the first day will be business, and we'll have businesses in there. I'll go into that in more detail in a minute. And we'll have communities and parish town councils on day 2. That's still a very provisional arrangement, and we only sort of discussed that with the council today. We're working with the climate team in the council with this. Although we are asking slightly more from them because we wanted to locate it in County Hall. We're still trying to make sure that we can get jointly with Swindon. Julian will be working on that, and hopefully that will take place because, as Andrew said, WCA has always been a total county organisation. So yes, located in a county hall, using the atrium. I don't know if people have been to County Hall, but using the atrium, which is a wonderful space for exhibitions and things. We may have access to the council chamber, and certainly we'll have access to other meetings as well in there. So there's a lot of work to do in designing all of that out now. We've got to the point of almost agreeing with the council that it's going ahead. But I think we've got to the end of this week for them to report back, and they've got a lot of actions on their list to do, to come back and agree things with us. But I think we've got there. I think I'm feeling very positive after this morning's meeting. Yeah, we're in the exhibition space of suppliers and climate and community groups, businesses, etc. We're thinking of putting a creche in so people can bring the younger ones and leave them in the creche. Food, there's cafe in the atrium, which will hopefully provide for certainly on a Friday. I think again the council are going to have to work out whether they'll get them to come in on the Saturday. And we're also thinking of having some keynote speakers, probably one on both days, and we'll see how that goes. So that's the sort of whole background to what we're doing. Have the next slide.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, so the first day is a focus on small and medium enterprise businesses only, and we've tried to sort of say what that's about. So we network with other businesses, trying to make the businesses more efficient, and how do they stop damaging the climate whilst doing it. And of course, by doing so and demonstrating their climate credentials, they can attract more customers. And then on the other side, reducing emissions, but keeping their profitability up, or demonstrating actually that they can make more money by using climate stuff. I might always use my example of using electric vehicles to deliver things because they're much cheaper to run over a long period. Reducing and keeping employees happy. I mean, if you're working for that sort of company these days, it is a very much more rewarding place to be for a lot of people than working in other places. So that's day one. And day two, that's a very quick, I'm not going to leave it there very long. That's our first lab of what the whole day would look like. So we'll have a morning meeting, working sessions, lunch, afternoon sessions. And then what we want to do is get the companies to commit to goals in the next 12 months, because this is a lead up to a big COP for Wiltshire and Swindon in 2026, where we're going to run that as a major event. So this is a sort of starter for 10 of doing that. We're probably stepping the thing up by a factor of 10 at least, possibly more, on 2026. But the council were pretty scared about doing it first time off. So we're into this sort of, and it's not going to be a small challenge just delivering this. So this will be a test for us as well as to how we get on. Can I have the next slide, please? And then on day 2, the thinking at the moment, and this is very fluid because we passed this back to the council to say, what would you like to do on day 2? Is a morning of community groups discussing what they have done and how other community groups who might want to do something can benefit from their experience and move on to generate whatever they're trying to do with that, with those climate products, whatever they might be, solar panels or whatever. And in the afternoon, parishes and town councils, who some of them are doing incredible work in the county. You know, if you look at some of the town councils, they are all effectively independently dealing with the problem with very little help from the centre. I think it's amazing what they're doing, absolutely amazing. And bringing those guys in to speak to others councils is massive, because it gives them an opportunity to network and talk about how they've got to where they've got to and what the benefit, really hammering what the benefits for their communities are. So it's a big thing for them, I think, and it's a really important part of our 2-day event. And I'm hoping that the council climate team will hang on to that. Okay, next slide, please. So can we just go to the last slide? And I'll come back to that slide in a minute. It's not this one. I'll keep on the last slide. That was confusing. Yeah, that one. No, go back one. Go right to the end again. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Okay, so what this is, and this is just for you to think about at the moment, is all the areas that we think we need to work on the development of the days of the COP or whatever we're calling it. And we're looking for help, small time, big time, whatever. And we've already got quite a number of volunteers. When I say number, we've got, I think, between us in a team now, there are 10 people, but we might need more than that. And the more the merrier, to be honest, as long as they have a focus. And if you can think about, when we're talking in our breakout, the sort of things you might be able to help with, even if it's very small time or larger time, and just remember, we'll put this up on the how somehow later, but if you can put into the chat an area and your name of where you might fit. So I put a label, e.g., GEC, whatever, and if you just say that would fit into, rather than having to type anything much out, or anything else you might want to help with. So don't feel yourself constrained to single letters. If you want to put a bit more in and say, you know, I can do this, that, and the other, please put your thoughts down in the chat. But that is also like, keep that in the back of your mind when we go back to the previous slide. Julian, thank you. And tonight's challenge for you guys is the breakouts are the top ones in the red. And what we're trying to think about, so the first 2 questions are to do with day 1. And what we're trying to find in our county are businesses and businesses you might know, whatever, that can demonstrate positive climate action to others. That's one. So we would bring them in and they would stand on a stage and say, you know, we've done this, that, and the other from a climate perspective, and this is what it's done to our business. So think about that, about who that might be in your area. If you can't, don't worry about it. It's going to be a chat anyway. So we'll have some people putting things in and others not. Don't be trying to say anything you like really in the chat. It's very helpful. And then those that maybe have not, as the second one, have not yet stepped into that climate action area and in a business, and who would they be in the audience? So they are listening to this thinking, yeah, I could use that to do this, that, and the other in their business. Do note that the council have a number of businesses that contract with them, so they are looking at those. But don't worry if we overlap, because if we get overlapped, it doesn't matter. But if we miss somebody, it does matter.
Sorry, did I take that accidentally?
Wait a minute.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Where's it gone?
You go the wrong way. That's it. Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. And then the other one is a list of other things that we have to do immediately to actually get ourselves in line to start working on the whole project. And it is a challenge, and as I say, the more the merrier. So if everyone's okay with the outline of the two questions, or the third question there is, can you help and your group help? So I've already asked you that already. So if you want to put your name in during the chat, do that. And if you're not, come out and do it in the thing. But think about those areas that you saw earlier, and perhaps once we come out of the breakouts, we'll put that out for a minute as well, so you can think about it. So if we're going to breakout now, how long, Andrew, do you want? We said 15 to 20 minutes, I think. Is it?
How about 15 minutes? And which gives us a little bit more time to report back.
Okay, yeah.
But just before we do, has anybody got any questions? Anything you need to ask about what the heck is this, or anything else? You'd have to raise a hand to do that, and I'm not sure if I'd see it.
Do you want to drop the screen?
Yeah.
Julian.
I want to say we had a very positive meeting with only junior members of Wiltshire Council's team, but they are stepping into action to support this. They do seem to want it, and they haven't encountered resistance to it happening, even though it's only formative now. So just repeating the two. No one's saying, oh, can't handle breakouts, can't handle 15 minutes, got to be 10, got to be 20. So I'm going to just press on regardless. And I'm going to say that.
Andrew, just before you do, I mean, seriously, if I rushed that through that too fast, sorry, but we will put something up on the website that sort of explains where we're going, and we'll go through that as well. But if you've got any questions after you come out of the breakout rooms, I'm happy to talk to them. And so as the rest of, we have a steering group of the COP as well as a steering group for WCA. So all the steering group members, most of them are here tonight, so can help answer the questions if we've got a wider debate afterwards.
So, and you might want to paste the text of those suggested discussion points for the breakout rooms into the chat. Hopefully we'll still be able to see it. But from what I was be able to get from you, the two main things are what businesses might you help us identify, and how might you and your group be able to help? So if you can remember nothing else, businesses and help. Now, if any of you want to think about community organisations, or even something to do with town and parish councils that you know of, instead of or as well as looking at businesses, I don't think we'll rule you out of order in your breakouts. But organisations we'd like to draw in to tell us what they've done, but hopefully to up their game, or if they're new to the whole game, make pledges for climate action. Businesses and help. Julian, you'll know how many breakout rooms we're in
already. Yeah.
Okay. And can you memorize your breakout room number? And hopefully at least one of you will be willing to report back from the breakout. So then I'll be able to call you by breakout room number, and also be slightly confident that someone will be willing to report back. Okay. Vicky, I see something in the chat.
I think it's just a question about what we're talking about in the breakout room. So I was just writing that we're suggesting businesses that are taking climate action already, and then maybe that's the first question.
Absolutely, yeah, Vicky. Yeah, it's businesses that are taking climate action already that they can demonstrate to others, and the ones that aren't would like to sit there and hear it and get the information.
Yes, businesses that are and businesses that aren't.
Yeah.
The second lot being harder to get them to come along. Maybe we'd have to have really good sandwiches. Okay.
I'm happy to download group number 1.
Go on then.
Which was basically just a real brains trust of ideas. First, we were thinking about where we might find suitable businesses, maybe looking at those who were ISO 14001 registered, which is a new thing for me. Looking at chambers of commerce, see if they've got any recommendations, and the Swindon and Wiltshire LEC Association. A recommendation came through for the 7Y Energy Agency, which we know has been offering grants and is active in Wiltshire. It would also be interesting if we would be inviting businesses that we highlight. Would we be offering them the opportunities of an exhibition stand to promote what they're doing? We then were looking at the energy side, various supply chain, maybe Regen, Southwest, Cotswold Energy. Another area would be, sorry, this is just a download, I hope that's okay. Other ideas, Queen's Award for Industry, they are likely to have good sustainable credentials. And then close to my heart, looking at companies that are doing a good job providing heating services and maintenance, and again green builders. And we just started to think about farmers and food suppliers, because obviously not already currently in our remit, but they are businesses and they are very important in our agricultural area. So I think we could have carried on for another 20 minutes, but that was as far as the brain dump went. So I'll back to group 2.
Well, that was some brilliant brains. Thank you.
Can I just ask, because it's important that actually you get this information to us. Jackie's fine because she's part of the steering group, but anyone who isn't, we need that list somewhere. I'm writing stuff down, but I'm sure to miss some of it.
I'll share the list with you, Bill, afterwards.
Yeah, but there's another 5.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Next 2.
I think we're group 2.
Okay.
I think we were 2. Yes. Okay. All right. I'll speak briefly. It was a similar approach from us, really, which was to try and crack out how we would try and get some good companies to come along. We had a little bit of discussion about the concept of big firms of the like of Unilever. Most of their suppliers are also going to be pretty big firms, but then the next level of suppliers, you might be getting into SMEs. So understanding where companies fit in terms of the scale that goes up through the supply chain is quite important. Then we really started throwing out ideas for talking to some of the known companies in the area, especially some of those who might have taken part in the business report that we did in 2022-23. Companies like Wavin, Siemens, Nationwide, Dyson, others like that. There was a good plug for Wessex Water, who've been known to do quite a good talk on that and have very strong environmental credentials because they have to and their customers need it. We thought that if we could find some small firms who are examples of good practice, then they should come along. And there were 2 or 3 who scored quite highly in the business report for Wiltshire that we did. So we could approach those. Hobbs Bakery, Good Energy. Actually, Wincanton Distribution scored quite well as well. So there's loads of ideas. And then we also ended up, like the other group, really saying in Wiltshire, you kind of have to look at the agricultural industry. Maybe we could start with someone of the like of Waitrose and sort of ask to go down their supply chain and find some good exemplar farmers who are making frozen peas for Birdseye or whatever's going on in the county, or Shurston Sprouts, I cycle by on a regular basis. Find ones who are good at stuff and get them in. Oh yeah, and the last thing, surely Wiltshire Council are implementing green measures in their procurement processes now, and someone to talk about that and how that is affecting the way they award contracts to Wiltshire suppliers would be really useful. Have I missed anything, team? Oh, Richard's got something.
Yeah, we're thinking if we can find a good best practice farmer who could talk about what they've done on their land to try and do the best for the environment. I mean, we've got Peter Shawcross, who's a dairy farmer but also an environmentalist and a really good guy, and can talk practically about these sort of things. We might have to do a bit of a sales job on him to get him over, but anyway, that was just a thought.
That's a great the suggestions seem to be two types so far with those two groups, either suggestions for a list of businesses or some ideas for individual businesses, and I think that's very useful. What I'd hope to hear from farmers is farmers who are willing to put themselves on the line for their greenhouse gas emissions and not just everything they're doing for the environment, where we keep a focus on the climate emergency. Is that a hand up? You need
mute,
to
Maggie.
Mute Maggie.
Hi. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would endorse Peter Shawcross, definitely. He's a really good farmer and got lots of environmental ideas. And as Alan Marion Davis has just said, he's also on a board member of NADA Community Energy. So he's worth thinking about. He could probably do a talk about what he's done.
That's great. Shall we gallop on to group 3 if they can identify themselves, or another group?
Yeah, that was us, me, and 3 others. Strangely enough, the top of our list was farmers. The suggestion from Alan was that we and from Kate was that the farming clusters are fairly a good target to have, to bring in, to talk, to tell their story. And it was in 2 parts really, one about the farm itself, but the other one is about the way that solar is used on farms, not as a solar field, but as on buildings and things, because that is an area, commercial buildings, solar is really important. Mostly it's more complicated because the buildings are owned by people that don't necessarily live in them. And I guess farmers generally own their own buildings unless they're tenants and they rent in them. I don't know, but it's those 2 things. One, the general farming change to be a carbon reduction, and the other one is on solar farms. My counter to it at the moment is, and I'm not saying we shouldn't do it because I think it's a brilliant idea, and we could build the whole of the COP business around it if we're not careful, is that farmers talk to farmers, because otherwise we're looking for an audience that will accept what is being said and think about it and make use of it in their business. So we'd have to work out really carefully how we brought that into the day. But as an idea, I think it's fantastic. We could, because it's, let's face it, it's a farming county, and it's actually a really good idea to bring that into the COP. I love the idea. It's just how do we do it, and we've got to work that through very carefully. But we also need to know, okay, now I'm going to talk to their contacts to see whether they would actually come and do a talk. So we've got that. So
my response to that is, it sounds almost as if we could run a mini event later in the year when farmers are not busy, which is probably never. Yeah. Where we talk to farmers and farmers talk to us and farmers talk to each other. But
yeah, and I think, but let's follow it through and see where we get to. And if we think, well, it's actually too big for the day, we'll put it somewhere else on its own, standalone, which would be great. It's certainly something we've been trying to do, as I said in the meeting, that we've been trying to do this since 2021. It's not something, or in 2020 when we're trying to get to talk to farmers. So places to talk to people as well: Chamber of Commerce, Rotary Club, and how we, if we take a business, we're talking about Wiltshire Farm Foods, which comes back to farming again. And Alan's said, you know, he can do comms in the local area, which would be really helpful. And at the end, Kate was talking about NRBC, which is the National Building Renovation Centre. Actually, should be a target for us, for businesses, to send them messages, and we're going to try and get messages out to NRBC, because they can bring people in to the conference either as exhibitors or as speakers. So I see that's quite a really good area to go. So that was
sorry. What was that acronym? The last thing you talked about?
The National Building and Renovation Centre in Swindon.
Great, thank you, Bill. Good, worthwhile set of ideas. Yep. Group 4 then, if we know who we are.
Should I go? Either 4 or 5 if you're 6.
We're 5, so it's okay.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, and anyone jump in my group if I've got the details wrong. So we talked about in Salisbury, there's the Green Business Awards, so we can look at that list and contact the businesses there. There's Salisbury Church has got an Eco Award, so there might be a list of churches with Eco Awards. We talked about Bradford-on-Avon kind of specifics like Green Gauge, Molten Bikes, Christine's Supermarket. And then we talked a bit about how, electricians and gas fitters and the kind of element of transitioning from gas boilers to heat pumps, and whether that sort of industry or those sort of companies would come along to find out how they transition for the future. We talked about rail companies, potentially a lot around Swindon and Chippenham area. And I talked about it'd be great if we could get someone like Sainsbury's, or I think someone else mentioned Waitrose, because of just the amount of energy supermarkets use when they're open, and whether there's different ways of looking at doing food and things like that. But then there was a suggestion of warehouses, big warehouses that don't have solar panels on them already, something around that. And then did something about the area boards. Oh, and then we were just talking about what we could be doing to help with the event, promoting the event. So one of the groups said maybe they could raise awareness at the area boards. And then Margaret said that she's got a link with the Business Improvement District group in Salisbury. So she'd be happy to be our link for getting information through there. And they send out lots of information to businesses. So could maybe do a bit of promotion. And then at the end, we talked about, in terms of promoting the event, just walking around our towns and going into the businesses and asking if they want to attend, either as a case study exemplar or a business that wants to learn from the event. And that was everything, I think. Anyone else want to add? Go for it.
No, just one thing is just to clarify that my feeling is that there are different sorts of businesses. There are businesses which are nothing to do with climate or energy or anything, and they're just doing whatever they do as a business. But there are other businesses which are involved in the climate or energy sector directly. Maybe it's worth thinking about getting a mix.
Yeah.
Involved. That's all.
Thanks, Matthew.
That is a good thought. I can also imagine that is a good thought. I can also imagine matching businesses that are taking vigorous action with similar businesses that aren't yet, if we could. So group 5,
That's mine, Andrew. So thank you very much. Yes, so I think one of the things that we kind of said, I think companies, if they're going to come, would like to see companies like them, if I can put it that way. So kind of reasonably early on in that journey. So Matthew, very much very along similar lines. One of the things that WCA is thinking of doing, if I've got this right, is to encourage businesses to use the SME climate hub bit of and I've dipped in as a kind of small business owner myself, and it's really quite friendly, not oppressive, not judgmental. No, it's going to be a little bit difficult and so on. And I think companies might find it useful to have another company who's just recently gone through that process. So something like that would be good. And that would include those who've implemented a good procurement policy, and that is part of that process. So that'd be good. So Neil, in that would be part of that. Was that green tech suppliers? So that's the other end of what we were saying. So useful for green providers to be there, businesses. But I'm not quite sure if this is what this is about. This is more about how do you get onto that journey and make differences. So green suppliers could have a stall there, let's say, but they're not really there to talk and sell their wares. Is what I think. But people like, companies like Riverford, who kind of do kind of nice fresh food and all that kind of stuff, would be nice to have there. Wiltshire Mark as well. I'm not totally familiar with Wiltshire Mark, but they kind of help to highlight local suppliers and so on. And also very good to make use of existing award winners, like you were saying, the Salisbury green scheme, and the award winners for that would be good to invite them to tell us how they got on. That from that we did move on to kind of who's willing to help, and it was really good. Everybody in the group was willing to help, which it seemed to be more or less. So just kind of just for the record, so Kerry was very willing to invite local businesses and talk to them and reach out to them and make that contact. So that would be good. Thank you, Kerry. Jenny was more happy to kind of invite and get involved in the community day around recruiting groups and so on. And Neil, who has more contacts down Swindon way, happy to get involved in reaching out to the local parish councils down there. I think that's about it, really. Thank you. And have I missed anything? Anybody? Nope. Okay.
I mean, I said I'd help with the community groups actually as well.
Oh yeah, sorry, Jenny. That was
Mel.
Sorry, who was talking this just then? Sorry. Was that Jenny?
Sorry,
It's Mel.
Mel. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I think you were in.
Hi there. Just a comment on that, Christian. It occurs to me that if you've got green tech companies, maybe as a stall, having a stall there, maybe they could suggest clients who they worked for who have gone through some sort of process.
Yeah.
As an indirect way of promoting their services.
Yeah, that's nice one. I'll make the note there.
Some customers up.
Their clients who've gone green.
That's a really good idea, actually. I think because you can think about all sorts of contacts the other way up, and I think that's
and it works for the company as well, because it's promoting their services.
Yeah, and we're up for hearing for anybody who we think should be an exhibitor anyway. So I think if we find those people and they're prepared to be an exhibitor, and they can recommend 3 companies who come along, that would be really helpful. So, yeah.
Right. What was our 6?
Okay.
Bill,
5, 6.
Group 6, sorry, was muted. And so I'll start reporting in a moment. I'll just say one thing. There's a big warehouse in Bradford and Avon, one of the biggest, apart from Sainsbury's, which is called Steve Vick. And this wasn't in the feedback from the group, but the Mr. Vick, who runs and provides pipeline equipment for pipelines, whatever is flowing through them, said, no, I can't put solar panels on my roof because the warehouse was designed so that the roof supports itself, but not several tons of solar panels. So it'd be interesting to
We
surface
have
that
an answer
problem.
for that, Andrew. We have an answer for that. Light
I'll
solar
get
panels.
lightweight solar panels. Okay.
There are,
Anyway,
there are lightweight solar panels. That's just an excuse.
so let's talk to these people who don't know that. So Group 6 was busy and interesting, and we spent more time on ideas, I think, than lists. And if we did look at ways to source different businesses, we probably overlapped with Groups 1 to 5. I'll do the last thing first, which was people offering to help. Let me put it this way: well, nobody said they were not willing to help in any way.
Great.
We might have been a bit coy because there wasn't a huge lot of specific offers to help in specific ways, but we did come up with some ideas. And so one, thanks Rebecca, was the idea of an accolade or award or a series of awards for businesses. This coincides with the idea already mentioned of Salisbury and other local groups have given green awards. I think Climate Friendly Bradford and Avon has done that. But we talked about their need for recognition and the way that an accolade or a bunch of different ones can encourage people to attend or to vie with each other. Related, an overlapping idea was the idea of a call for papers, where when we're reaching out to businesses, we might ask them whether they would like to give a presentation and indicate that would advantage them in the event. They'd have a presentation to give. We might let them show their merch or something, and maybe some businesses that have gone into something deeply might want to present about it and inspire and inform other businesses. Let me see. I kind of raised the idea of the difficulties of getting businesses engaged in even wonderful, attractive things that will benefit them. So it might come down to what some people have already said they might do: local knocking on doors, an email followed by a phone call, followed by an actual personal visit to the premises, because nothing like talking face to face with someone who's sincere and means what they're saying to help business owners and managers understand things. And then we slipped one last thing in, the idea of a workshop on regulations and regulation and the regulatory framework which evolves and changes. I'm wondering if Rebecca, do you want to, would you be willing to just expand on that a bit if you're here?
Hello. Sorry, I started with that, but I meant more broadly a workshop that helps businesses problem solve together. So what are some of the challenges they're facing? Maybe like an hour session where they can knock heads and think about issues together and come up with solutions together.
Thanks. Sounds like a great idea, and an incentive for businesses to come if they're going to be talking to businesses that either a similar size or in a similar sector. Then that might well be a good draw. We have had some ideas in this steering group for the event of presentations we might give, and we might want a series of seminars that are running through the day, so that when people aren't otherwise engaged, they might come to them. And it could be about carbon literacy training for your organization, or a green energy audit of your facilities, or an introduction to what the heck is Scope 3. And there are a number of other core topics, even the climate emergency and what's happening in the next 10 years that we might like to give presentations on. So that's running through the day.
We've only got 2 days, haven't we?
Yes. Well, and it's all my philosophy, think big, and then if it becomes a bit smaller, well, we'll say we're thinking much bigger next year. So we've captured some of that, obviously, on the recording, and people have been taking notes. I'm amazed at the resourcefulness of a group of people like this. So thank you very much, everyone. And Christian, is that a
no, it was. I think we've got so many people willing to get involved. I think it might be good to plan a planning meeting and with all those who put their hand up, just to kind of grab people while they're still encouraged. So I've mentioned a few people. Could you put your name down if you're happy to be called to a meeting where we gather the volunteers just to say what kind of roles could you be and how what could it look like. A quick half-an-hour meeting I'm thinking of, just to kind of get you lined up, if I can put it that way. So I've already got the ones that I mentioned when I was doing my feedback. And Mel, I think you said was it Mel? Yeah. If you stick your name in there, just so we've got it on the thing, that would be really helpful. And then we'll call a meeting. Is that all right, Andrew? Hope. Yeah. As you know, I'm disappearing off shortly, so I might hand this over to someone else, Jackie.
Thank you.
To coordinate, but I think
it would be
fabulous.
Helpful if you put either your email or phone number as well, actually, because we won't necessarily have the connection to those things from your name.
Yes. Bill, did you want to go back to your final?
Yeah, could we put up the final slide again?
Julian,
just to give some people an idea of the areas we're trying to set up little project mini groups for. It may change when we have this meeting that
that one?
That one, yeah. Because those are the areas that we'll try and group people into, and it may change slightly, but that's the sort of, what can we do there, here, there, and everywhere. I just wanted to try and get it into areas that were manageable.
So if people put then name or email address and any one of those letters into the chat, that'd be helpful. Actually, it occurs to me that because you're named in the chat, even if you just put one of those letters of the alphabet or one of those phrases, something you're particularly willing to help with. So Rebecca's shown us how, just by putting T, we know that Rebecca's into helping with that, which is an excellent thing to be helping. Thank you very much, Rebecca.
You can put more than one letter if you want to, so you don't feel restricted, just the one letter.
Or a sentence if you feel you need to say something. Well, we've missed it. What have we missed? Please
Thank you, Vicky.
tell us. But I would say, please put your full name in, because we'll lose you otherwise. Because we have several Margarets and we have several Keiths and whatever, so it would help.
Right, so some letters have shown up. I think we're going to assume that everyone who came to this meeting is willing to be at least asked if they can help in a much more specific way. And I think Christian's idea is a brilliant one of having an action planning meeting very shortly, so that we can sort out roles, offer them, allocate them, and so on. This is all very fast moving. I think even with Wiltshire Council, we're expecting to hear more back from them by the end of this week on what the structure can be and what they can offer us. We haven't heard much about what they want to deliver on in the event, except that last year they did put on a brilliant environment showcase in the atrium of County Hall in Trowbridge.
And I did notice on the notes of the meeting we had, Andrew, that all the actions are with them, except one.
Okay. Well, your steering group and other members are also busy doing other things, responding to the local transport plan, which will come up in a minute, gearing up for the local plan review. There's other consultations going on. There's strategy things. So the core members are never short of things to do in terms of policy work with Wiltshire or sometimes on a national level. So it's brilliant that so many of you are willing to.
So can I ask one final thing, Andrew, before we move on to the next subject? Here's a Christian. When do we have this session? This half-hour session.
Shall I quick look at the diary? Bear with.
Not everybody will be able to attend every day, but we should set a date now, and I suggest possibly in the next week to 10 days.
Yeah.
I will comment that people who've come this evening are free on at least one Wednesday evening of the year, so Wednesday evening might be compatible. That's only a random suggestion.
When are you thinking of?
A week today.
A week today?
The
oh no, I can't do that. But it doesn't have to be me, of course.
There's a police meeting in Melksham. The 22nd seems to be free. That's 2 weeks though. Keep plugging on that from a minute, will you, Christian?
Yep. Okay. I'm thinking of I'm thinking of I've got how about I've got STC steering group meeting, and I'm not quite sure what time that one is. It's probably in the evening. How about it's Friday? It's not so good, is it?
I sometimes suggest Sundays because no one meets on Sundays.
We could
So
do. How about Sunday morning then? There's Sunday morning at a kind of no. I'm getting lots of no's. Okay, so I was looking at the diary and then I saw people's faces. So how about 21st?
What's wrong with the Friday anyway?
We could do Friday.
This Friday?
Friday at 6?
Not this Friday. Friday week.
17th.
Friday the 17th. Yeah.
Okay, Friday.
What time am I meeting her?
17th.
Yeah.
6 on the. Do people want it to be at 6 or rather a bit earlier or a bit later?
6. Then we can still go out to the pub afterwards. Yeah. 6 o'clock then. 6 o'clock on Friday the 17th.
Okay.
Into the chat.
Okay. Cool. Volunteers.
And if you can't make it, don't worry, we won't have forgotten you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Planning meeting. I'll send out an email. I'm afraid I'm going away for 6 weeks straight after that, but there we go. But someone else will take over.
No, we're going to keep you in. You just have to take your laptop with you.
Well, and lovely. Okay, that's cool. Okay, I'll send something out to that effect. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
Chris.
Thank you. Thanks for the prompting. Getting it done now, which is always good.
Let's move on to the next one because it's 8:30 already.
Yes.
Julie, can you just flash up my other document?
Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah. Can you start talking while I look? Where was that in WhatsApp?
Okay,
Bill?
the local plan. Yeah, put it in WhatsApp. The local plan. Okay, so local plan for Wiltshire has been going through a painful process of consultation. Ended the consultation beginning of 2024, and they've now got it to the inspector, and we're trying to work out what to do next. We put in a 100-page response to that, which we're very proud of, but how much impact it will have, I don't know. We'll just have to see. But the question for us as a group is, how do we manage that whole process? Because going to the inspector, we may need to take legal advice, we may have to do all sorts of other stuff. But there's some very, very important principles we're challenging in that local plan. It relies upon the inspector picking up our points and making them an issue to be raised. But assuming that's the case, I think we've got to think very carefully about what they might be and what process we as a group want to go through, because it will cost money and we need to work out how to deal with that. And also it will cost a bit of time because we've then got to brief the brief and all the other things that go with it. So this is what I'll just take you through the one page slide. So this basically is what summarizes what's on. If you look at the invite to this members meeting, there is a link to all of this. You can see the details if you want. On our website is the response to the consultation. Not quite sure where that is, but we'll put that up on a notice after this meeting. But what you've got there is the planning inspector has been appointed on middle of December, and he's got a guy who's Ian Kemp, who's the program officer. He takes all the stuff in and out. He's the person we have to contact when we want to talk to the inspector. The inspector has to, as you see there, a number of informal debates will take place on the principal matters identified by the inspector. And we want to know what those are as early as possible. And Margaret Wilmot may have more idea about how that works process-wise, but I'm just advising WCA members that we're probably strongly going to do so, strongly recommend that we do something here, but we're not quite sure which part of our ones we feel that needs to be taken. And there are guidance notes in the link as well, so you can see what it looks like, and also a guide, which is actually quite useful. I might read that. Those participating in local examinations for the first time. So it gives anybody who's interested an understanding of what this means. But the whole point about the whole thing is that it is something that's going to live with Wiltshire for the next, well, I don't know where the next one is, but we're talking about 6 or 7 years at least. it will define how Wiltshire develops in all sorts of directions. And it's really, really important that we make sure it develops from a climate perspective in the best possible way we can manage to push it. That's a challenge because there are lots of things in there that we might not like very much, but they're not, from an inspector's point of view, relevant. So we've got to be very careful about which bits we pick. So all I'm asking is, keep your minds open. When we get to the stage of knowing our next stage, we will come back to you and tell you. But if anybody wants to get involved in this sort of stuff, welcome to again, leave your name in the chat and say, just put LP next to it, because it does need people who've got the experience of dealing with things really to max out our response. Okay, that's all, Andrew. I don't think I want to say much more, just to say this was an awareness raising thing rather than an action thing for the moment. You've raised your hand, Andrew. And you must be muted.
Is he frozen?
Yeah.
Andrew, you hit that cold. You can take this down now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just make one quick comment? Is that I think another important part of what we're trying to do is make sure we support the good bits, and you know, there'll be lots of developers battling against Wiltshire Council, and we might want to support Wiltshire Council, so that's a very important part of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that might be a gentler approach than putting a barrister with them and have their own. What's happened to Andrew? Does he know he's frozen? Yes, Margaret.
Yes, well, in the silence of Andrew, in the unusual silence of Andrew, just to say my experience from the last time around, because I got involved in the public inquiry for the previous local plan, was that the key thing was the questions that the inspector comes up with. However, before he comes up with questions, last time around he actually had a lot of queries that he raised, so that website that you sent the link to, I suspect the next thing will be, what about this, what about that? You know, he will go through things with a fine-tooth comb, and may well, it's very worth keeping an eye on. But I don't think it's a particularly quick process. And of course, the other thing is this plan may not last very long, because it's going to be superseded by the new housing requirements, isn't it?
Yeah, but because they got it in the gap, it should be made, and then they have to start again.
Yeah,
so it will be at least 2 years of it being in operation before it changes.
It's dreadful. Yes. Okay.
All right. What Andrew was going to talk about, and it may be pertinent for other people, is LPT4, the Local Transport Plan 4th edition for the council, which is under consultation at the moment and goes in at the end of January. The consultation closes. And I know a lot of people around the group, in groups, have been doing responses to it, and intention was to provide, if you like, a list to WCA members who haven't been involved of key issues that we might want to get more push into, so that get other people in WCA to respond on the basis of, here is a classic response. Please take it, reword it, send it in, and make it a bit more of an effort, and a bit more of a weight behind a particular issue. And he's got his head around how to do that, but he hasn't done it yet. And the point we're going to make is that it closes, when is it, Margaret, on the 24th?
24th.
Yeah, so by the end of the 24th, we have to have it in. So we really need to get everything out to everybody by the 20th. Andrew's back. I've just been talking about LPT4, Andrew.
Thank you.
And saying we're going to give people some help in the key areas where we feel it needs more pushing, but I'll pass over to you now.
Yes. So I'll just say a couple of things. I was going to give a presentation, and now on a mobile phone, not on a laptop. I really can't give you the presentation. The gist is that there are 2 or 3 things that you might think we would agree with that I'm suggesting that if people that people disagree with, like, do we agree with the main vision, which talks about a low carbon future and not a zero carbon future? That has a result of diluting the whole ambition of the entire plan. Might be worth disagreeing with. Something about the list of objectives is poorly thought through, or the list of challenges. The carbon paper, which is their main vehicle for telling you how they will bridge a little bit of the emissions cap when they should be bridging all of it, is something that deserves to be disapproved. I don't believe in pulling punctures. There's not going to be many people responding and being taken very seriously who say Wiltshire Council shouldn't be addressing the climate emergency and reducing its carbon emissions. We shouldn't humour them in our response. So I will produce, however short, a guide that I can circulate, which will have been seen by the steering group, of suggested or responses to the consultation, but also in parallel, and hopefully with Margaret and one or two others, a much more detailed response, saying what we agree with and what the many failings of the plan are, so that we're in a position to challenge their intentions on transport. We do know that the plan is so vague that they themselves are saying they will have to come up with a lot more implementation plans. That's all I'm able to say now. I'm really sorry, but of course it is 9:15. Probably another presentation is the last thing anyone would have wanted. Over to you, Bill or Margaret.
I think we're done. Andrew, has anybody got any immediate questions on LPT4?
Well, it may be worth adding that document, that LTP4 comprises 12 documents and 960 pages altogether. And for a document that size, it really says very little, doesn't it? I mean, it doesn't come down to any specifics, really.
It's a fairly pathetic exercise in local democracy, trying to get people to comment on it as well. And
yeah.
The scope of the comments that you could make and score it on is, I mean, pathetic doesn't really anywhere near it.
Absolutely, they try and curtail the responses that they're going to get.
Well, they've done that by putting out 960 pages, haven't
exactly.
they?
I mean that's
how
enough.
many people in the world, let alone Wiltshire, are going to read 960 pages of waffle, which is what it boiled down to.
Andrew, did you want to sort of rearrange another time when you could do your presentation quickly and show how people could respond easily?
Yes, and the fourth Thursday of the month would be too late, because the 24th is the deadline. So very soon, and like I say, I'm holding on to a phone. I haven't got any of the resources I wish I had for suggesting when that meeting could.
Well, we could say 7 o'clock on the same Friday we just said the COP thing, because people might be sort of ready to do WCA things.
Can't do that Friday, I'm afraid.
And when will be good for you, Margaret?
We have the makings of a subgroup email list on transport.
We have a WhatsApp group for transport as well. So we can use a WhatsApp group for transport, and if people want to join that, that's brilliant.
I'm in touch with Nick Murray, another steering group member, on Chippenham Town Council's response, which was more, which I think was interesting, not necessarily as pressing them on the failings of the plan, how weak it is, how it's a menu, not a meal, and how many words and pages they take of repetition and sheer waffle to say almost nothing. And I'll just make one point here that makes me mad. Bill and I and others have been looking at Wiltshire Climate Strategy Delivery Plan, which the climate team are refreshing over at Wiltshire Council. Now, so I read last delivery plan, which 2022-24, Wiltshire Council Climate Strategy Delivery Plan, that has more transport, its transport set on what Wiltshire Council are than the entirety of 900-page LTP4, and I think that's disgraceful. It's shocking that
And Andrew, you were in
got.
another on another planet then, Andrew, you were on another planet. We couldn't hear you. So
yes, Andrew, could you just repeat that, please?
Oh dear.
Yeah, what Andrew said is the plan from the climate group has much more about good transport stuff than the LTP4 does.
Oh, right. Yes.
Very good.
Thanks.
Sorry, Andrew, you're breaking up so much we can't really hear you. I don't know if you can recover.
The climate strategy delivery plan of 2 years ago has more specific statements on transport than the whole draft LTP4. And I have heard from a veteran transport campaigner on freight, they've got because suggested railroad freight interchange that could possibly be at Westbury. So they have not the local knowledge that the last local plan review 8 or 10 years ago stopped safeguarding the site for that interchange. So they're now proposing as a possible future thing something they failed to make possible 8 or 10 years ago. That's all I can really say. We've got to propose
Andrew,
a suggested.
Get your internet sorted out because you're getting every other word. Anyway, I'm having to go now as well.
Thank you very much, everyone.
I'll see you all who voted to see you next Friday. And looking forward to it. And thank you so much. And thank you to Andrew for doing the meeting, but thank you so much to everybody else. There's so much contribution. It's been a brilliant evening. Thank you very much.